Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and we're back. Welcome to another session of Beyond Connections, your normally bi weekly sessions with the analysts of Abacus Securities. And I'm Bess, one of the senior analysts covering banks and the economy. And today, as usual, I'm joined by Isai and Rainier.
So, I'm Isaiah. I do technical analysis for MyTrade and Securities.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rainier again, an analyst covering the consumer sector and some of the industries that we are taking a look now. I think would be, ano, what are the industries that we are looking at now, Best and IC?
Uh, well, not exactly an industry, but we are looking forward to the IPO of Manilad, which should be in 2 months, but the pricing should be in just a few weeks. And this should also be good news for Water. What about you, IC? What are you looking at lately?
Well, I would like to share with the viewers a quick glance at the all share index. So, since we haven't been here in a while, there are some similarities to the what's this, June low in back in 2024. We have post divergence in the lower part of the panel. You can see we've finally traded sideways here. So hopefully we can get a catalyst that would hopefully push prices higher over the next few months. So the setup looks quite decent, and if we can just get back above, say, a golden cross or get trade back above the 200, which that would add to the bullishness of chart. As you can see in the longer picture, it has trading at the bottom end of the range. So hopefully it can find its way back up to the top of the range eventually. So yeah, that's what I've
Okay,
been.
thank you for that, IC. And just on my end, just wanted to share also on the gaming space since I think over the past a year or even 2 years, I think it has been one of the trending industries that we have seen. We've seen the newcomers and we've seen some of the older names that are now again trending, particularly because of the rise of the e-gaming space. And we talked a lot about it on today's version of our research reports, which is the short takes. In case you want to grab a copy of our thoughts and insights and outlook on the gaming space, feel free to message our page and open an account with us so you may receive our daily reports. And again, featured today uh, one one example on the gaming space. Okay, I think we can start off with one question here, or actually, it's not a question. I think I think we can start here. Insights about ASEN. ASEN actually today it traded better supposedly, uh, but towards the end of the day, it closed back to I think its range of 250. I think it traded above 260 at one point today, but it was sold down, and a lot of it can be attributed to the potential overhang from its upcoming SRO. And just to remind everyone, the SRO of ASEN is pegged to be priced at the very least at 2.3 or 230, depending on the market conditions, and probably they will take a look at the VWAP in order to price that. And the timeline of ASEN's SRO is expected to be announced or released further with more details by the third quarter of this year, and probably it will wrap up by the end of the year. So I think that is one of the hindrances that Asian is facing. That's why share price has been really depressed, especially after they announced the SRO pricing and the offer size of about 30 billion. And in terms of the first quarter earnings for ASEN, I think it was somewhat disappointing with net income or first quarter net income really coming below its estimates that can be attributable to various factors as well. But I think the main driver or the main news that is affecting the stock is again the SRO. So I think it will take some time still. It will consolidate until there is more clarity to uh, the pending SRO or capital raising for ASEN. And in case you didn't know, the SRO will probably dilute uh, its EPS, so that could lead to lower upside for ASEN.
Maybe we can also get a technical insight. I see.
Sure. So this is the recent chart of ASEN. As you can see, it's been tracking, it's been in a downtrend since maybe uh, something up in volume, but until it probably breaks above this volatility level to its level, I think probably signal a change in its short-term downtrend. So yeah, that's what it looks like so far. It's oversold, but yeah, we'll probably stay this way for. That's it for the technicals.
Okay, thanks for that, both IC and Rainier. Let's go move on to the next question from Shane Custodio. Will the Philippines greatly benefit from the trade wars started with the US? It's my assumption, or is my assumption right that US brands will relocate their production or manufacturing in Southeast Asia, particularly here in the Philippines? Um, Not exactly that the Philippines will benefit from the trade wars, but that we will be less affected than our Asian and ASEAN neighbors. As to whether, well, we will be less affected since we the so-called reciprocal tariffs that was set for the Philippines, it's much lower than our Asian competitors, second lowest only to Singapore. So that would give us some sort of competitive advantage. But still, that then the 17% level is higher than the previous tariff rates for the Philippines. So that will actually still mean that prices of Philippine manufactured goods will increase for US buyers. As to whether US brands will relocate their production or manufacturing in the Philippines, I think, well, it's still too early to say whether the tariff rates will hold at those levels since it's basically kind of a negotiation tactic being used by the US government. So we won't know yet how much exactly the tariffs, how much, at what level the tariffs exactly will end up. And also, there are other factors related to the business decision to relocate manufacturing in a different country. So aside from the added cost of relocation, there's also um, the available labor pool and the cost of that. Unfortunately, the Philippines is no longer as competitive as some of our Southeast Asian neighbors in terms of labor cost. Um, so uh, I think it will be more of a neutral overall effect or impact on the Philippines from the tariff war. What we are concerned with is the indirect effects of a possible global recession that the tariff war could bring, which would mean lower overall trade in the areas affected, and this could result in economic slowdowns in several markets that could have negative impact for demand for our export products. There's a follow-up question from I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm sorry. Let's call him JM na lang. Should we call for an abandoned ship of Asian stock? Um, I think what we are recommending is that at this point it doesn't make sense to abandon ship ASEN if you're an investor rather than a trader. Um, Especially since the price already has gone down to these levels. We are quite still more positive on the longer term earnings outlook for ASEN. So we would just we are recommending to subscribe to the SRO if you are a current shareholder and are entitled to it, in order for you not to be diluted. And there the overhang, although this should last for quite some time, hopefully will not last too long before the stock can recover um, towards the latter part of this year, or the end part of this year. I think while we wait for your other questions, I think I see it earlier at the start of the show. You mentioned that we needed some catalysts in order to have the all shares index see a better movement upward. So, what catalysts are you anticipating? For me, there's one that I think would be the policy rate cut that is expected by mid June. So, do you think I see that's one of the catalysts that you are also anticipating?
So uh, also hopefully the interest rates will continue to drop. Yes, Bess, would you agree, Bess?
Yes, we are expecting that once the BSP does its rate cut in June and possibly another one in the third quarter or fourth quarter. So that's one thing to look forward to. Hopefully, fingers crossed. For the next question from Botikina Ultimo, for dito goods to buy ba? Fundamentally, we are not really covering dito, so maybe we can take a technical look at it.
So here is the chart of Vigo. Haven't really looked at this in a while. So the few pumps higher, but trading at support, actually maybe even below support or very near support here. Don't really see anything bullish with the chart. Won't be a selling round towards the 20-day possible. Yeah, so that's my view on Vigo. Looking more like a selling round.
Okay. For next question from Mary Santos, can AP Globe SCC recover soon? For Globe, management is, although first quarter earnings was quite weak, management is quite confident that they will be able to make this up later this year. And also, I think one of the reasons that Globe has been weak lately is the um, concerns that the IPO of Mint could be delayed. But we believe this will still, if it is delayed, if it this will still have a positive impact on Globe when it does do its IPO. And we do believe that the management can be able to steer the company towards a better earnings performance later this year. So we are still recommending to accumulate Globe on weakness, but yes, that is one of those are two of the reasons that are depressing the stock price lately. Ngayon, can you comment on SCC? Maybe.
Hi. Thank you for the question. Just gonna bring back the question here. AP for AP and SEC. AP post actually AP and SEC. They're kind of in the same space that they both posted weaker than expected results in the first quarter, and this is attributable to West spot prices, meaning electricity prices were much lower in terms of the spot prices that they get electricity from were much lower since they sell to the WSM, and since prices are low, much lower compared to where they were last year. That's the reason why mostly for AP that has been the reason for the weakness. But for SCC, it also saw weaker than expected results from its coal business. So both volumes and prices were down. That's why its contribution were weaker, leading to SCC to underperform. But between the two, actually between the three, the common denominator here is they are all paying out yields of above 5%, and SCC is the one paying about 11 to 12%. But in terms of your question, if they will recover soon, I think uh, based on the trend that we are seeing in the second quarter in terms of Western prices, it might continue its weakness, especially for AP. For SCC, there has been some improvements in terms of coal prices, so that could be a positive indicator for SCC. So chances are, uh, I think Globe will be the one that will recover the fastest among the three. But in terms of yields, if you're looking for yield plays, I think it's still SEC the one taking the crown here. But in terms of earnings recovery and potential catalyst, it will be Globe. Okay, so
Maybe to take a connected or related question from further down the list from Rosalie Cebu. Do you have any thoughts on the two telcos? Will there be any reversal or change in their momentum? And what are the possible catalysts that may push their prices to the upside? So, um, for Globe, the catalyst that we are looking at is the IPO of Mint, which could still push through it in the fourth quarter of this year. And um, for both of these, it's really the earnings of their fintech subsidiaries, since their main or the core business of mobile and broadband is going towards the mature phase of their business life. Um, for Tel, Maya was already profitable in the fourth quarter of last year, and the contribution to Tel's bottom line should continue to increase going forward. So about that's a positive catalyst for Tel, and for Globe. In turn, similarly, Gcash is still in the growth phase, and apart from the IPO, the contribution to Globe's earnings is still expected to increase in the coming years. So those are the main catalysts that are expecting to push the prices of two, the two telcos of these two telcos um, in future. Any of
okay, I
these
guess
that you want to add technically? I see.
Um, so if we just saw the two ratios of these two stocks, uh, Globe has been underperforming PLDT, the PLDT stock. So from a technical perspective, uh, you would probably prefer PLDT over. close in for a bit more week. Um, so we have it, our PLBT. Technically, PLBT is a little bit more constructive because of the bullish divergence. Sorry, the oscillator is has oversold afterwards. So could probably trade sideways before gold trade sideways. So yeah, it could. Yeah, it does look more. Telephone does look more bullish than gold. So that's it from the technical perspective on yeah, and
Okay, next question from Marlon. What happened of new stock Maynilad? Um, I guess you're referring to the IPO of Maynilad, which we expect, which is scheduled to happen or to start its offering in mid-July. Um, yeah, so the offer price or the maximum offer price was set at 20 pesos, but it's possible that the final offer price could be lower than this. But even so, this is going to be trading at around 10 to 11 times PE, um, even at those levels, which would mean this could also bring up the valuations of Manila Water. Um, which is currently trading at around 6 to 7 times PE, quite cheaper than what the valuations that Manila is targeting. So we are expecting Manila Water to be pushed up or brought along the waves of Manila IPO doing its IPO in July. Next question from um, which one do you want to take, Rainer? They're all consumers.
Up to you, best. Maybe we can take this
But
one. Sorry, I'll take this one since I think this is one news that we are taking a look or we are waiting. Analysis on macro Asia. MAC has been weak over the past months because of an issue with the current contract of Macro Asia, and particularly with their joint venture partner in LTP or their MRO repair unit. And I think there are negotiations ongoing with the current with the new NAIA concessionaire. That's why there is a risk that their contract might not be renewed come August. That's why I think investors of MAC are taking a more cautious approach. That's why that led to prices to come down, and I think we should hear some updates. In the past 2 months, we have been communicating with management on updates. They are still positive that the outcome uh, will come out as a extension, but I think the terms of the contract will probably take a hit, will probably affect its earnings, meaning lease or the rentals that they are taking from NAIA will be higher. That will lead to some pressures on Macro Asia's bottom line. That's why there are some headwinds that the MAC is facing, but at the same time, once the news comes out that uh, there will be an extension between Lufthansa Technic Philippines and NAIA, it should bolster Max share price. But I think uh, at this point we don't have much visibility on it. But so it's more of a wait and see approach. Chances are the result will be positive. That could potentially be catalyst for Mac or even a sell on use for Mac.
Is there anything interesting for Mac on a technical point of view?
Sure, we can show the chart for now of macro Asia. So MAC has been below the 200-day moving average for some time, as you can see, but it has been improving. The descent has been slow, shown by the bullish divergence on the lower panel. Um, Quite a bit of pickup in the volume today. Um, Volume and the volatility and the volume is at two times the historical average. So if it can break above this 385 resistance, you could see it test the higher levels at closer to the previous support at 505. So far constructive developments for macro Asia. That's the technical view on macro Asia.
Okay, thanks for that. I see. Which one do you want to take next? But I think you can take the one from Brian Eduardo. Rebalancing expectations for August. So the PSE I is going to have its regular index review in August, and the changes will be announced sometime either late July or early August. And we are expecting um, two gaming companies to have significant movements into and out of the index. So we are expecting Plus to enter and replace Bloom. I think Bloom was also discussed earlier at the start of the session. It has its own issues apart from the index rebalancing concerns, and also tomorrow or at as by the end of trading tomorrow, Bloom will also be removed from the small cap index of the MSCI along with Wilcon, and so that should be another blow for the stock price, unfortunately. But that's also the rebalancing anticipated in August, which will probably result in Plus being added to the PSEI is one of the reasons why Plus has been quite strong in the past few months. So yeah. So for the tangentially, the MSCI rebalancing, which is different from the PSCI in August, is going to take effect on Monday, which means the last day to trade would be tomorrow. So AEV will be added and Bloom and Wilcon will be deleted. So we might still see some weakness for Wilcon and Bloom tomorrow and some possibly some more strength for AEV, but most of the reaction for the stock price has already probably happened on when these changes were announced last May 14th. So I think we can take only one or two more questions. Which ones do you want?
I think we can take the question. I think we've been receiving these questions. It's quite a number of consumer names: TPR, SI, RFM, and FP. So I just want to narrow these down since RFM don't really cover it. Not much volume and not much developments on their end. FB, uh, it is a good play in terms of its yield if you're taking a look at its dividends. But the problem with FB, even though fundamentals has improved so far, at least in the first quarter and the fourth quarter of last year, uh, its float remains to be at 11%. So not really attractive for us to dig down further. I think it's something that uh, can can be seen as a less priority But for Keeper and SSI, first on Keeper, Keeper is doing much better compared to its peers being Emperador and Ginebra. Keeper is growing at a much faster pace compared to its peers, and its outlook for the rest of the year remains to be positive, with earnings continuing to be driven by the falling inflation, as well as its portfolio, its broad portfolio is really benefiting from, I think, a uh, wide array of brands, and pretty much the improving consumer spend is helping Keeper improve further. And in terms of its margins, it has been trending upwards with the recent price increases, and did not affect uh, did not affect demand, which is positive for Keeper. So I think our target price for Keeper remains to be at about 20 to 30% upside. So we still are a buy on Keeper, especially given its uh, earnings performance, as well as the uptrend on its technicals. For SSI, I think it's a different story, but it has shown a good recovery in the fourth quarter. But so far in the first quarter, it was pretty much flattish to slightly positive. There are pockets of strength for SSI, but there are some segments that are lagging. But I think it merits to be part of our watch list for SSI, since they are paying out quite generous yield. I think of these four names, in terms of yield, I would rank it at SSI, Keeper, FB, then lastly RFM in terms of yield. But in terms of SSI's earnings, the outlook for the rest of the year, probably the same for the first quarter, and for next year, I think it will be better, with the potential of its recent acquisition of some more brands that will take into effect actually by the second quarter this year or third quarter this year. So that should be positive for SI. But main to be cautious still on SSI because of some earnings visibility, but as well as the liquidity on the stock. So if you were to rank it, probably Keeper, SI, FB, then RFM, since these are quite a few consumer names. So I think that's all the time we have, since we have extended as well, and we do appreciate all the questions. We will try to go back to these items and try to reach out. And again, if you aren't a client yet of MyTrade, please do feel free to contact our page. And we do have our own Facebook groups where clients are more than welcome to ask their questions, and we will be happy to accommodate those questions, especially given the current market environment. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Uh, any parting words, Bess and IC?
Thank you again for sharing your afternoon with us, and we will try our best to answer your questions that were left unanswered in the chat. Also, be sure to tune in to our next edition for Beyond Connections. Now that earning season is over, we probably have more time to do more sessions like this. So hopefully to we see you on in the future episodes as well.
I just want to wish everyone good luck in their trading, and thank you for joining us today. So